We're going to let it go for a second here. You guys ready?
Yeah, I mean, we can, when you go live.
We're going live.
Okay, cool.
Let's just get straight to it, yeah? All right, ladies and gents, welcome aboard to the Captain Crypto Show. Tonight, it's another episode of our Captain's Council, where we go and we take a look at the latest and greatest developments in the world of cryptocurrency. That means that I'm joined by two of my favorite crew members. First, we got Brett to my left.
Woo!
And we got Tay to my right. Welcome aboard, gents.
What's going on?
Well, I think there's quite a bit going on as usual. Some bigger stories, some smaller stories, but one that I actually wanted to get straight to actually involves a billionaire. Some of you guys might be familiar with a man by the name of Bill Gates. He's been making headlines this week. He had some items to say about Bitcoin. Essentially, he was saying that it was a technology that's main use case is its privacy, and he is concerned that people are going to use it for nefarious reasons. So did you guys come across this story? I believe he did an AMA on Reddit. And of course, there's so many Bitcoin cryptocurrency supporters that someone decided to ask him about cryptocurrency, and he gave his thoughts. So I was curious, Brett, if you saw this story, if you saw Bill Gates' words, and if you had any thoughts on it.
Just laughable. He seems to be at a large line of non-thinking thinkers, right? That,
old white men.
Yeah,
it's like how I feel
it's
about
like
it.
All these men are. Well, it's not just. Let's not get racist here. I'm a white man, and I don't appreciate.
Oh, you are. Oh,
I don't appreciate. It's cisgender as well. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So old, successful white men that are pretty reasonably well educated. They opine on a topic, and then it's like they don't even really get into the complex stuff, and they just get the basic stuff wrong. So, if I think we've said it before, everyone in the community keeps saying it. Bitcoin isn't anonymous, never has been. It's been pseudonymous, right? And in the strict computer science definition of anonymous, it doesn't fit in that definition whatsoever. There have been countless people that have been caught using the Bitcoin blockchain, right? It's not necessarily the best blockchain out there to use for privacy. There are other ones that are better, and it's I think we were talking about on the show before. I don't even know why they ask these people and or care what they think. Someone like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, and I mean those two in particular seem to be.
Dimon.
They seem to be really Jamie Dimon's another one. They seem to be really good at creating monopolies and using the system in place, either through the financial system or legal system,
right.
Intellectual property,
Lobbyists.
setting up moats right around their monopoly and then extracting rents, right? So anyone that knows the Bill Gates story knows that the guy's really fucking smart, but he's also not some top-level computer scientist or game changer in terms of like bringing humanity forward in any such way. He is someone that recognizes software and its relationship to the legal environment, right, and how you can, basically take over the world and buy up some technologies that can compete with you, and basically take over the world with one type of software implementation. In Bill Gates' case, and he said some nice things about Bitcoin before, but it seems like he in the last couple of years he's digressed in terms of his understanding. And he's part of a global establishment that is really trying to keep the dogs of chaos at bay, because I think Bitcoin and a lot of these things are eating at things like Microsoft or Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett's case, their stranglehold on the world of business profits and technology.
One thing about them is Warren Buffett has said that before, that he doesn't do technology. Like he said,
he missed the entire internet thing.
Well,
he certainly likes to give opinions on things related to tech, though.
But I mean, people keep coming to him and asking him about these things. Like he was like, a lot of his biggest mistakes have been mistakes of omission. One of them was he didn't buy Amazon. He should have bought Amazon a long time ago. Now he's all on Jeff Bezos's, like every chance he get, how great of a company Amazon is, but he's too big to buy it. You know what I mean? So don't look at guys who are comfortable, already made a ton of money, already on the Forbes, top 50 and above list, because they don't need to make any more money. So why would they go out and take any real risk You know what I mean? Like, this is for us.
And also,
for
Warren
people-
Buffett, he's just a hoarder.
What? Yeah, that's
He's just a sick hoarder. I think he's overrated, right?
Right.
He buys
Definitely
He
overrated.
buys monopolies.
I mean,
and
it works if you're young. Like if you're young and you still got a lot of time in the game and you want to use that as an insurance policy, you can do his method, but you have to do it with things you see for the future, starting from today, moving forward. Like when he was, I guess he started at 11 years old or something like that. So of course you're going to make money if you're in the stock market since you're an 11-year-old.
and you're riding the wave of post World War II U.S. global domination. It's kind of easy to ride that wave
When everyone's winning.
when not only you come from money and you go to elite
Right.
Ivy League institutions,
Well,
right? And you have
Actually, I don't think he went to Ivy League.
he went to Columbia and
I gotta-
studied under Benjamin Graham.
Right.
That's the genesis of, or I should say that is the intellectual influence behind Warren
What
Buffett.
he did, yeah.
And Benjamin Graham was probably one of the best investment minds in the world. But he also constructed a way of thinking about the world in terms of how the world existed at the time with fiat currency,
Right.
U.S. hegemon,
I mean-
just U.S. unipolar power, right? Just and
mean,
how to value stocks, bonds, and allocate them. And
Without getting too much into the detail on it, I just want to say like he did good for his time. He rode some ups, of course, and some downs.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, like, if you're investing in anything in the U.S. stock market over that many years and you still lose, like, you got to be pretty screwed up. So I'm just saying, like, he's not going to pick on everything. He's not going to pick the best picks of everything. But over time, of course, you're going to be right. With Bill Gates, I just feel like I think he has a track record of being overly emotional on world subjects. You know, like he thinks that a lot of these, people who have done good their whole life, they're kind of detached from reality and the ground truth, right? So you can have $1 billion you're giving away to some charity, whatever, right? Where's it going? Nothing's got better since you started that Bill and Gates Foundation. I mean, maybe they did some things for malaria and specific things like that.
Yeah,
but unless you got people who are pushing that agenda, you cannot think you're just going to spray money and it's going to do good. So I see him seeing something. Maybe he saw some documentary or somebody told him how Bitcoin is being used for nefarious purposes, and he just went off. I think the interviewer probably cornered him wrong.
well, it was an
AMA, it was on Reddit, so it was like online.
It sounded like I'd be like, what if someone said, well, illegal activity was done with your Microsoft software
That's
and
what
your,
we're
saying.
it's like, what kind, is he? I don't think Bill Gates has degenerated into fifth grade like a logical.
I hope not,
Kind of seems like he has. if I'm
Yeah,
being
it's just
honest.
like, oh, there's bad things that are done with this, and he gets fundamental things wrong, like the main use case is anonymous transact. That's just a subset of the cryptocurrency market, and it's not even. It doesn't apply to Bitcoin. So his comments seem, are kind of perplexing, and at this moment, it's like, who fucking cares?
Honey Badger don't care.
Well, yeah, I don't fucking care what Bill Gates thinks. Like,
Honey Badger don't care.
it's like, yeah, if I was trying to set up a Windows machine, maybe like I would tweet at him or
then
something.
you call Bill
but, like,
Gates, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If you want to know something about Bitcoin, let's be honest. The guy probably hasn't touched code in like 20 years.
Yeah, and like, dude, if you want some people to listen, to get like basic stuff right. Like, I feel like he would have a lot to add, right? If he really dove into it. The guy's not an idiot. He got into Harvard. He obviously has some type of IQ that's up there. He started Microsoft, really dominated the software world for a couple decades, and is a multi-billionaire, right? I don't understand where he's coming from. Can you not pick up a book?
Yeah,
Right.
I really don't think he's dove into it. And kind of adding to what you guys were saying earlier, it seems like people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, yeah, they made a lot of money, but the markets they made money in weren't really free markets, and they were different eras. So I think sometimes they have that holdover of how they got rich or whatever.
It's literally the opposite ethos of Bitcoin, because their mindsets are to find and seek out and create monopolies. That's whole. Like, if you listen to Warren Buffett or listen to the Microsoft,
and there are a lot of
right, and centralized control over the kind of the profits and benefits that come from those monopolies that they set up or invest in or create. where Bitcoin is really trying to distribute power, distribute resources, decentralize things. I mean, it's a whole paradigm shift from the way they made money, right? What Facebook?
Come on, man.
What happened? We have
roll with
we
it.
have some. Okay. Anyways, I got off track.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, my issue.
Basically, fuck those guys. that was my conclusion.
Eloquently put. I think a big part of this, well, maybe not a big part of the story, but at least for me, kind of okay, Bill Gates is allowed to say what he says. That's fine. I don't know why people who are into cryptocurrency feel like they need to get everyone's opinion on it. And to a certain extent, someone like Bill Gates or whoever can like it or not like it. If it's something that's just going to keep going and it's not really not able to be stopped, it's like yelling at a boulder. Like, let them yell at the boulder. The boulder's coming anyway. Right. So to me, there was kind of the question of, okay, well, why do people even care? Why is a journalist? Why are they? This came across my, my laptop, my browser as an actual story, an article from, Cointelegraph or CoinDesk, one of those news sites. And then I was just thinking afterwards, well, how is this even news? Why is this even news?
It's that FUD, man. And every time we see somebody big like this, talking bad about Bitcoin, it's a buy signal. You need to buy today.
Yeah, I think any media publication or social media outlet or whatever that's trying to generate clicks and attention, right? We're all in this attention economy. Anytime you mention Bitcoin, any big name, I know that they notice that it's going to get retweeted a lot. It's going to get a lot of comments from all the cultists like us that are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's not, we like to fix any little error that someone makes about this stuff, right? Because we're all committed and we actually have done our homework. They know they're going to get engagement on anything they put out related to that. Right. So there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just pure profit motive. Like Tay was talking about this before, right? They're just going to throw shit out there. And then you have someone like Bill Gates, which the general public just thinks tech, right? And all tech is equal. And then they think Warren Buffett and they think investments and money, right? And those guys don't like it. Well, they know tech. This guy knows tech and this guy knows money. Well, they don't like it, then it's bad, right? That's really that's the level of analysis.
I guess Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, all those big guys, whenever they say something, it's not really catered towards thinkers like us. You know what I mean? And I say thinkers because obviously I'm older than most guys here, but for guys who are really on the edge doing that stuff, like, you're not going to listen to them for your investment picks. Yeah. At least not the edgy ones like this. So, I don't know. I think we can rant on about these guys, but probably not worth it.
I think to go off of the other points, these guys are monopolists. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general are an anti-monopolistic,
breaking up, disruptive,
right?
Breaking the
these
monopolies.
Guys, and they've done fabulously well in seeking out their little monopolies and raking in lots of profits, lots of shares of different companies, whatever.
Right.
They're both multi-billionaires, and they're people that they are independent enough, but they never say anything remotely outside the Overton window or anything remotely outside the establishment consensus, right? So they pretty much represent and are part of a lot of these old world, when I say old world, dominant 20th century institutions and types of thinking, right? Very hierarchical centralization is a key theme. Bill Gates knows nation states. He knows multinational corporations. He knows NGOs, and so does Warren Buffett. So, all this stuff is kind of an existential threat, and it almost pays not to really know that much about it. When you're kind of incentivized not to know. When someone's incentivized not to know about a problem, or a threat, they tend not to explore it much deeper. They just know it's a threat and they don't like it and they don't really understand it.
Yeah, and I think Tay made a good point. Once you have money, it's a lot easier to make money. So, of course, they're not going to want to take on risk. Like, when you have, like, a guaranteed 20% return year over year, and you're already 70, 80 years old.
Guaranteed $5 million per year for doing nothing. You know what I mean?
I don't have as much problem with Bill Gates as I do with Buffett. Buffett is just a hoarder, right? He's lived in the same house for 40 years, or 40 or 50 years. He just collects rents on monopolies that he sets up. right? And kind of, and he's been setting it up since like the 60s.
You gotta think about it too, like the type of people that are really on his team who really been backing him over decades with big money. You know what I mean? Like they're probably like, hey, get out there and stomp this Bitcoin thing. You know what I mean? Don't say nothing about crypto. Don't say nothing positive about it because we over here with this old money. We don't want to.
He loves to play that innocent grandpa, right? And he's not innocent.
Well, the lefties love him.
Oh, of course, because right.
He's a nice guy.
So that's what's so like he's literally
that's what Brett really doesn't like. That's what it is.
Oh man, that drives me off because he's such a
the righties like
he's
him
a
too.
wolf in sheep's clothing because he is a monopolistic capitalist to his core, right? And he says some nice things about taxes, and then everyone on the left side of the spectrum loses all moral integrity and joins up with this this hoarder monopolist capitalist because he's like some nice grandpa figure that eats Skittles and drinks Coca-Cola and makes billions of dollars.
And
but
drives a Cadillac. He got a Cadillac.
But
too.
he's venerated in the media because he never says anything remotely controversial or outside of the established talking points about the socioeconomic system other than taxes, which is really kind of in lockstep with like people that want progressive taxation and stuff like that. Right. So he's always going to be a champion of these socioeconomic forces, right? People that are in the establishment. He has a direct line to Goldman Sachs, right? He's in those smoke-filled rooms, right? He's the Bitcoin is the antithesis of Warren Buffett.
Okay, so I think that's enough on Warren Buffett. You obviously don't like Warren Buffett.
I'm not I did read. I do like his work in value investing, and it's excellent. But
sounds like a page turner.
Just
so, out of curiosity, what do you guys think? If someone's a journalist in cryptocurrency, is it irresponsible for them to be giving these sorts of quotes, these sorts of personalities?
You know, people really need to.
Is this about clicks?
Of course it is. People really need to. There's a new book out there. I'm not trying to shill it, but it's definitely.
Go ahead and shill.
It's definitely if you're in crypto and you're trying to decipher all this FUD, it's a book called Skin in the Game. And the title says it right there.
Ooh.
All these people out there, never trust anybody. One of the quotes in there, never trust anybody whose living is giving predictions without any consequences.
Bingo.
Right.
You feel me? So like they don't have any skin in the game. There's no consequences for them being wrong.
Yeah.
Don't listen to them. Listen to people who got,
get hurt for being wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. People get hurt for being wrong. Another quote that's in there that's strictly for crypto or investors is, don't tell me what you think is going to be good this year in the stock market or whatever. Tell me what's in your portfolio. So
yeah.
What do you have?
Have you read, you're mentioning Nassim Taleb's book.
Right.
Nassim Taleb is kind of a cult figure for people in crypto, especially me.
Right. I got him on Twitter.
Have you read his previous books? Or
who is this?
I've heard of him.
Nassim Taleb.
Yeah, Anti-Fragile and Black Swan and all that stuff.
He's coined the term, to use crypto language, anti-fragility,
right?
Which at its core is things that benefit from disorder, right? So like a human body, right? When you work out, they're basically throwing some chaos on your body. Your body is it's broken down a little bit, and then it not only repairs itself but comes out stronger, right? So he's basically describing the economic system as this organic thing that benefits from chaos in certain ways.
Right.
And then he compares that to our current system, which comprises a lot of decision makers that don't have skin in the game.
Right.
They do a lot of top-down, machine-like kind of linear type thinking, and he's someone that is the friend of exponential technologies, anti-fragile systems, right? Honor, skin in the game.
Right.
And then you have these other people like that he doesn't like Ben Bernanke or central bankers in general that make decisions, like Tay said. And when they make decisions or predictions, even if they're wrong, they just keep getting promoted, right? And there's really no consequence to their actions.
It's just like any team that's out there, let's just take it on a basic level of a sports team, football team. Yeah, the coach is not out there playing on the field. He's not getting hit. But he has consequences if they lose.
Yes.
He could lose his job. You know what I mean? He'll lose credibility. He'll lose the team if he keeps making wrong plays all the time or whatever, then eventually lose his job, right? So those type of things, like, it's something actually we really need to think about when when we think about who we're getting our information from. I'm not saying, you know, a group of us or crypto people are going to change anything in government. Probably not. But I can change who I listen to and where I'm getting and how, you know, how credible I see as a source, a certain source. If they don't have any, you know, I've always looked at the news like that. Like, okay, these guys who get on and talk about stocks every day, doesn't matter what happens. They're still going to have their job the very next day, right? So they can say something that's totally wrong for their audience. They're still going to get paid. They're still going to have a job.
And people have a short memory as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough on Bill Gates. I think we've already done that one to death. But since we're talking about social media in general, I've seen a lot of chat on social media that some of the, I guess you could say, some of the leadership or some of the, what would you say, thought leaders within the space have been making a lot of, I guess, complaints about social media, especially Twitter is the one that I see a lot. Obviously, there are some more recent phenomena that we've seen a lot of it, especially the last couple months, where you have someone who might have a verified account. John McAfee comes to mind. Charlie Lee comes to mind. And sometimes these people are ending up with impersonators that are coming through and that are trying to hoodwink some of the more naive users out there. Yeah. It sounds like it is working at times. And I don't know if that's the main reason for their complaints, but in general, I'm noticing I usually go onto Twitter to the subreddits there to get information about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And as of late, it's just completely turned into just a bunch of people pumping and dumping. You say something that they don't like, and then you just get downvoted. And it's essentially at the point where it's useless. And so that's Twitter and Reddit. Those are two big ones for me. I'm curious if you guys have seen like a degradation of the quality of social media as it pertains to blockchain technology.
Yeah, and everything. I think as a culture, not just cryptocurrencies, but people are noticing that in general. And I think people that know history intimately aren't surprised, but a lot of the utopians in Silicon Valley and people that buy into that think just because you open things up and things are social and you include everyone, that automatically things are just good and rosy and like there are only good things will come out of it, right? So like you have all these liberals that set up Facebook and Twitter, right? Entrepreneurial, progressive type mindsets, and yet those networks were leveraged by Donald Trump and some of the forces of darkness, so to speak, if you don't like them, leveraged it and outflanked pretty much everyone in that ideological cohort, right? They took these tools that were built by progressives and by utopians that said, oh, let's just connect everyone and everyone will like each other. Well, most people don't like each other.
We'll change the world,
right?
Man.
Yeah, we'll just connect it and there'll be social revolutions and everyone will be happy. And that's just not how it plays out. Once you start
to see it as whenever you open things up, just take the internet.
You're going to get a lot of shit in there.
Of course you are. But like it's going to be its evolution to a degree, just like the internet.
It's messy, but evolution is messy and violent.
But it is what it is. You know, it doesn't have to be as obviously.
Hold on. It is what it is. I just wanted to throw that. It's true.
Thank you.
It's true.
It is what it is, and it's not going to favor anybody's side or not. You know what I mean? It's going to swing one way. It might be.
It's open.
It might be. Normally things have cycles too. So like something
like
comes
pendulum.
out, something will come out and it'll swing one way a little too much, and then it'll come back the other way. Exactly. Then it'll eventually, if it's actually good and it's been time actually it'll stand the test of time, then it'll actually median out and be in a nice place, kind of like where we're at with the internet right now. Overall, not just social media, but before when the internet first came out, it was only geeks on there. Then everybody thought it was utopia, and then all of a sudden, all this porn and everything was all over the place, and there was no filters. Then after that, we started getting more for work. Okay, you can actually make money online, and all the things we're doing now. So I see crypto. I mean, it really is the best analogy for what's going on with crypto. Is just how we were back in 1992 with the internet, email, what people understood, how people were using it. I'm sure some people were dealing drugs on the internet at one point and doing other things. So I don't even understand like how people, that's saying something more about human nature than any type of technology. If the new technology comes out and we have, I don't know, like a diffused laser beam that can beam internet at crazy speeds to everybody, guess who's going to be using it first?
The
Drug dealers, prostitutes,
yeah.
criminals. You know what I mean? Like
My type of people.
Well, that's how you know it's a good technology
Exactly.
is when really bad people start using it,
And then-
right? Because they know it's powerful.
And then grandma and grandpa and you know, people who got, you know, the white picket fence out front, they're going to be complaining,
But-
oh, only criminals use it. And then they'll start using it and it'll become normal.
So we always talk about how it's good to have an open, decentralized system that anyone can kind of contribute to. When you open it up, you also open this stuff up to predators. So predators can lurk in between the comments, and they're gonna, you know, construct things in a way to pick off some of the less sophisticated users, right? The sheep, so to speak.
Exactly.
Right. So none of these,
Because they have to use their mind every day. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like they're out there.
That's what people in cryptocurrency land need to understand, that none of this stuff will necessarily rid any of our lives of some of the terrible characters or terrible things that can, you know, confront you in life. But it's just a tool that allows you to take the next level as a human being. That's all crypto is, because you can definitely be hurt by it. People can hurt you with it. Right. So, and like Bill Gates said, you know, like ISIS and stuff, they can use this stuff. That's part of the cost. Right. And we have to accept that and use other means to kind of take down these bad actors. And I think a lot of the good people in cryptocurrency are actively working to clean a lot of this stuff up. I know they've actually, I saw a thread with Jack from Twitter between him and a couple other thought leaders, I guess, in technologists in crypto, because everyone's basically seen now in Twitter where someone like John McAfee or Samson Mao or Laura Shin will post, and underneath the comments it'll be like a fake account of John McAfee. If you've seen this, no one's offering you free Ethereum. Trust me. John McAfee does not give a shit about you.
Or Litecoin.
He's not going to send you anything. No company is going to send you that unless it's like through their website. Don't go through with anonymous Twitter offerings, right? They are not there to help you.
Yeah, Charlie Lee doesn't even have any Litecoin to give you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Right, but I'm sure there's a couple people that in the world that have fallen for that trick.
Of course, yep.
Under Charlie Lee's Twitter profile or his whatever.
Yeah, and usually they just have like a username or something that's really
They're
close.
pretty good.
Like
they're pretty good. It look like
Satoshi Lighter.
Yeah, and it'll literally have the same, you know, profile image
Picture,
and
yeah.
every, you know.
But it just doesn't have that blue check mark.
Yeah, that blue check mark certainly means a lot.
But yeah, you open it up and predators can come in too. But the system is supposed to be strong enough to highly incentivize good behavior, right, and penalize bad behavior. And hopefully over time, right, there will be a net good that comes out of cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, and these networks. So
aside from Twitter, are you guys still seeing high quality discussion on other social media, or do you feel like it's been degraded?
I feel like Twitter it's still there. It's just that you got to go into the comments, right? So like, it looks like, you know, if somebody high profile like Charlie Lee posts out a tweet, then you got to go in and maybe out of the first 6 replies, there'll probably be some more scams, you know, because what they'll do now is the scam will be right there, and then somebody else will be like, oh, thanks, Charlie, I received my blah, blah, blah. So they got their partners on there. You know, they got other accounts that they're setting up that's trying to make it seem like they are sending something. But then you go down and you'll see, like, some of the real discussions. I guess, I don't know, it's hard, man. You got to, I feel like you have to give up regular media to be able to have enough bandwidth in your brain to filter out this crypto media.
Yeah, if you're interested in learning about cryptocurrencies, do not read the New York Times, do not watch Bloomberg, do not watch CNBC, do not watch anything that would be considered reputable.
Unless you know how to watch it, right?
Well, true. If
you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're only watch, I listen or read or watch it so I know what they're thinking, and I can still be updated on how ill-informed that they are. Right, so again, it gives me a mental picture of how confused they are compared to what I know, and I know on the ground. And you need to listen to shows like this with me, Kylan, and Tay.
Thank you, Brett.
Yes, thanks.
Right, and we'll give you the straight scoop because we're actually on the ground and we actually know kind of what's going on, and we know our limits, right? And we actually have good sources, and I'm sure Kylan will continue to bring on cool guests that know what they're talking about and steer everyone in kind of the right direction. But I think to answer your question, Twitter is where most of the best conversations are going down. Reddit was useful for a while. I think it's really
Definitely not anymore.
It's not. I would stay away from Reddit. Something like Our Bitcoin was really good, but it got toxic with the whole block size debate. And then you have all these other coins that have Reddits, and they're basically just pump and dump. There are some cool, other coins that might have better communities, but a lot of them are just, people are just trying to make money.
Yeah, and like Tay said, the second you have a tool or a platform, social media or otherwise, that really does well, then it becomes more and more valuable, which means it becomes even more valuable for some sort of scammer to come in with something creative.
Yep.
So it is kind of a pendulum that swings back and forth, if you will. So on media, one thing that I noticed, kind of moving on from the social media aspect, but there was some news regarding Litecoin and I guess the Litecoin project in general this week. I know, Tay, you have a little bit more about that story, right?
Yeah, so LitePay was definitely a highly anticipated thing for Litecoin bag holders.
Right. So what, for the viewers and the listeners, what exactly is LitePay?
So LitePay was, from what I understand, it's a separate company that's supporting Litecoin and Litecoin merchants. So you can set up a merchant can set up where they can accept Litecoin very easily, hold Litecoin or go right into fiat if they need to. Also for regular users, they were going to have the main thing that most people probably were looking for with LitePay was they actually had a nice looking Visa card that said LitePay on it, and you would be able to load up Litecoin through the app, have it immediately on your Visa, use your Visa at any store. So that was one of the.
That's what people were looking forward to.
Right.
Is this a fork?
No,
it's not a fork.
It's not a fork.
No.
This is kind of like Shift Card or BitPay.
Okay.
Exactly. Same
okay.
thing.
All right.
For vendors.
Gotcha. But
So
I know there's another Litecoin fork coming out.
Yeah, that's
Other
a
than
different,
Litecoin-
that's a different topic.
yeah. So with this one, the card was delayed, but they delayed it the day when they were supposed to come out. So they
Yeah.
waited till the 26th, which
Yeah.
was 2 days ago,
I think. Yeah.
Monday, and the price of Litecoin was running up over the weekend. Monday comes out.
In anticipation of the,
Well,
of the
that's
announcement,
what,
right?
That's what we assume, right?
Right,
But
right.
You never know.
Right.
But then they announced that they were going to push back the card because they had problems working with Visa, and they put it all on Visa, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, well,
What do you
dude,
think?
the CEO was on CNBC, or not CNBC. He was actually on this show called Cheddar. Like, give me the cheddar. I need the cheddar, right? But
I feel like I just heard of that.
yeah, and he was on there, and he seemed pretty smart and everything, but he didn't say anything about they was having problems with Visa or anything.
Yeah,
like
we're
that.
really excited for our announcement.
Yeah,
in a few
exactly.
days.
LitePay, Litecoin would be used for everyday transactions and everything else. And so he just, LitePay.
That's a tough position for a CEO to know exactly when you're going to be ready while still building hype
Maybe.
for your product, right?
Yeah, that
You
is
don't-
what a CEO does.
yeah,
though, right?
it's
Maybe,
a tough,
but-
yeah, not everyone's made up for it.
Right.
How do you balance expectations with how and there
Right.
might be things that he doesn't even know about at the time.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's the news with LitePay, and it doesn't mean that a card is not coming. It doesn't mean that you can't actually use Litecoin on other cards. I was told I think you can still use it on Shift through Coinbase if you actually hook up your Litecoin account to your Shift card.
Right. Yeah, I'm unsure if you can do that. I tried doing that with Ethereum, and it made it seem like it was sending the card, but then I never received it.
Right.
So it's kind of I've heard different things. I'm not sure.
I think once you have a Shift card, by the name, right, I would think you can shift which cryptos
You would think.
but maybe that's just a
I
marketing.
don't think you can. At
ploy.
least if
So
you can.
I have a question. So I have a BitPay card.
Right.
Will it work the same? Because they're calling it Litecoin Pay or
LitePay.
LitePay.
I'm assuming
So
it's pretty
LitePay,
analogous.
LitePay and BitPay.
Yeah.
Somebody commented on this
Pretty original name.
right before that they actually took whatever BitPay says on their webpage. They just took the same thing.
They just forked it basically.
and put it on LitePay's page and
the nature of Litecoin.
changed the background, everything like that. So
Why reinvent the wheel, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
if it works, it works.
Yeah, so
we call that open source.
So I imagine I would just, because on my BitPay card, I just load it with Bitcoin,
Right.
and I'm able to spend it in like 5 minutes. Is
Right.
that the
That's
the
what
thought?
that's what you're supposed to be able to
Nice.
do.
You're supposed to be doing something like that. I think they were also trying to set up a system with merchants as well, making it easier for them to be able to accept Litecoin.
Correct.
But kind of as Tay was saying, it seemed like a lot of people were really excited about the Visa part of it. So to have them kind of
Back out.
last second, no real how would you say it? They didn't really give any hints beforehand. From what I could tell, as a barometer of what I saw online, it seemed like a lot of people were pretty disappointed about
Yeah.
it. They pushed it back, but there's no, hey, this is when it's actually going to come out. There's
Right.
nothing like that. So it's in this gray area, purgatory, and it sounds like like you said, they blamed it on Visa, but the details were very sparse.
Right.
And without Visa, how do you even do it? Are you going to try to use American Express or MasterCard? Like Visa, it has such a big not demographic, but market share. Really,
Right.
it's such a. You would think that is the best way to go through and get to as many people as possible. But
What I see is that Visa, there's actually Visa cards out there that are connected to crypto. So what I'm thinking is LitePay probably, they wanted a certain deal and Visa wanted a certain deal and it didn't work out for those numbers for them. I think if they really want to push it, obviously maybe that was LitePay's fault for putting a date, because then Visa knows it has leverage. Like, okay, you want this thing out? Well, we're not doing it until you give us our numbers. We'll wait.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
that's definitely tricky. Putting multiple things together and giving an exact date,
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You might miss the date.
Yeah,
That's
you've put options. You've limited your options. It's like a margin call date.
yes.
yeah, and it makes me wonder too with LitePay. So LitePay is a company.
Yes,
Okay, because I was gonna say
separate from Litecoin Foundation, I believe.
Right. Because there was a part of me that was like, okay, well, hypothetically, let's say it falls through and they're like, if Bitcoin wanted to file a lawsuit, like Bitcoin can't, it's not a company, or Litecoin's probably the same. But I guess if it's actually through a company, then maybe it probably sounds like they didn't have an agreement. So there's nothing to file suit about anyways,
I
right?
don't know. We'll see.
Okay, so I think that's enough on Litecoin. If people have been watching some of the trends with Bitcoin, I'm talking about Bitcoin Core. I know some people think that Bitcoin should just be called Bitcoin. That's fine. But SegWit, and I know SegWit is kind of a more advanced or technical topic. SegWit adoption has started to go up, and now it's been going up for a while, and now it's to the point where it's at 30%. And SegWit, just for those viewers at home that don't know what it is, it helps with scaling. It helps essentially reduce transaction fees. It helps to make sure that your confirmation times are shorter. So it was implemented, I think, back in August 1st, I think was the date.
Right? Yeah.
And people were told that this thing would be implemented in all the wallets. This feature would be implemented and help reduce costs really quickly. And it's been going a lot slower than a lot of people think, but it seems Coinbase actually recently implemented it, and I'm sure that's probably helping a lot because they have
And
a lot of volume.
Bitfinex.
And Bitfinex as well, and Edge Wallet, right?
Yeah, so
We're in there.
We did it first. We did it before them.
Right. So
we're better.
so adoption seems to be around 30%, and I'm curious. Do you think last time I checked, my Bitcoin fees were somewhere around 50 cents, which is a lot lower than it was back in, say,
December?
even December, back when it was like 10, 20 bucks. So I'm curious how much. It's hard to tell, but do you guys think, is that just because not as many people are doing transaction with Bitcoin, or because of SegWit, or maybe a combination of both?
Yeah, so something highly complex like Bitcoin, it's probably like when you say one or the other, it's usually all of the above. So we see increased SegWit adoption, which basically makes transactions smaller, the footprint, the resources they use, right? It's kind of, I would almost think of it as a best practice, right? Using SegWit transactions can really, you're incentivized to it, but you're incentivized by the network to use it, because you might, a classic transaction might be 50 cents right now, and I know I've sent some SegWit transactions even like 15, 16 cents. So that when you see companies like Coinbase and Bitfinex use it, they're saving a lot of money by using that. They're batching transactions, they're using SegWit, and it's taken some time. And I think a lot of the core cultists, and I use that in a loving way for any core cultists out there.
Sounds loving.
Because I might be one of them as well. But a lot of them think that SegWit was activated at the protocol level, and all companies have to do is flip a switch, and it's on, right? It actually, what SegWit did as a soft fork is kind of push a lot of the work to the wallets and people that are on the front lines, exchanges, applications, right, or our wallet. So it took, I know in our case, it took some time to implement it, and it took some time for Coinbase and Bitfinex to implement it. And it just shows how you can implement a change without a hard fork, right, where you're not really forcing people to do it. So you can think of hard fork in simplistic terms as almost a dictatorial decision by the network where every node has to upgrade. In SegWit, we were able to do it with a soft fork, so it's basically an opt-in type of change. So people are opting in, and as you would imagine with an opt-in, not everyone does it right away. It takes a little work. You have to take action. You have to take that step. And right now, when it first launched, it seemed to creep up to about 10-12% and hit a plateau. And since the Bitfinex, Coinbase, I guess implementation of SegWit, it's jumped all the way to 30%. Nice. And at the same time, we've had a monumental drop in very low fee transaction. And I think it's safe to categorize a lot of that as, I think it's not out of the question to call it spam if you're in a adversarial environment. But there's theoretic, or what is it called? Technically, there's no spam on the Bitcoin network, right? Every transaction is valid. What spam you can't really, but you can see these large mountains at certain times. Bitcoin, especially during the scaling of debate, just had these mountains of low to small fee transactions that have just basically completely disappeared, right? So it doesn't seem to be organic demand. It was some sort of actors that were, basically sending really cheap transactions, filling up the mempool
on purpose, trying to make things worse.
And in one sense, you could look at it as people trying to stress test the network and seeing how much it could handle, right? And really showing the limitations of the network. So if you have a competing network, this might be something that you want to do if you have a certain narrative, right, with bigger blocks or whatever like that.
Right.
This is stuff that you can't really prove, right? And you start going on into paranoid land. But I think for me, as an outside observer that's looking at it, and the evidence that's presented to me, it looks like someone was trying to send a lot of transactions,
trying to make them look bad,
trying to make the Bitcoin chain look bad. And I actually think it's a great thing that they did it. They kind of really moved everything forward, caused a lot of chaos in the community, and now we have a split with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and we have other coins that are doing the same thing. So now we get people that are trying all different types of scaling solutions, and it's really, I think, it sped up the pace of development for things like Lightning, right, or on-chain scaling. So the spamming really isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does show the precipitous drop-off that we've seen. Like the blocks are really small right now. There's tons of space in there. It's really cheap. That a lot of it might not be that organic, right, and that there was really no immediate
some manipulation,
need to
some attack going on.
Which is part of the design of Bitcoin, right? It's like, attack us, attack this network, we will become stronger. It will become stronger, right? So none of the, even if it's fun, it might be, malicious, it doesn't matter. The honey badger doesn't care, right? It'll withstand that attack, and it costs the adversaries money to do it, so they can't do it forever. And now we're seeing a relative peace right now where people can there's ample block space. Part of it is provided by SegWit, but I'd say most of it is just a huge drop off in low fee transactions, right? And I think that the evidence of that is pretty strong, but you can never really know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would make sense if you want to attack the network, at least at that time period, that you would send in some spam transactions. So yeah, we have seen things fall with regards to the transaction fees. So hopefully it'll buy them some time, at least until Lightning Network comes out. And the good thing is, with 30% adoption, that means obviously they still have a ways to go. But maybe it's possible that at least maybe it'll take a long time to get the rest of that 70%. And maybe you'll never get to 100%. But once you start getting 70, 80%, then you'll have an idea of what the real
potential is.
Correct. So hopefully by that time, Lightning Network will be ready for your average user to actually use.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's going to be other proposals like SegWit, which I think fundamentally are seeking not to make space bigger, like the blocks bigger, but data smaller, or the resources you use to send a transaction smaller.
Right.
So instead of just making more space, you make, instead of making the lanes bigger or whatever, you make the cars smaller.
Right.
The data footprint. That's what something like SegWit is looking to do, and there's lots of other proposals that are highly technical that I'm still trying to grapple with in my head.
Wimble.
Well, that's its own blockchain, but yes, there's all types of stuff coming online.
I like the name, though.
Yeah, right. You
like a dance.
Masked snore signature,
like
scriptless
that.
scripts.
I don't like
all
those
types of
names.
stuff. You don't like them?
It's a Wimble's a Harry Potter reference.
Yeah. What is it? A
Tay,
Grim blockchain?
are you a Harry Potter fan? Is that what's going
Nah.
on
I
here?
mean, Wimble sounds like a dance, though.
It does sound pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can make it into a dance at some point.
We might have to do that.
Yeah,
First crypto dance.
I gotta say, the naming in crypto is way better than in traditional finance. You got Dogecoin, right?
Yes. Pepe
Pepe coin. You got Spank coin,
Spank coin,
Ponzi coin,
Pepe.
Spank chain.
Ethereum is a pretty cool name.
Dude, crypto.
Bitcoin is probably the boring
Yeah,
name.
it's pretty
You got
lame.
Litecoin, but
Yep.
the king might be boring sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
He can be. Okay, so I guess one thing that we're going to talk about tonight, and this is a little bit more relevant to what we do here, right? We're an actual podcast. And obviously for the viewers at home, if you're listening, then I guess you're not a viewer, but we are live. We do have videos on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we're going to be adding more platforms. But when we first decided that we were going to start doing video, maybe about a month ago or so, we looked into the different platforms that were available. Obviously, the biggest one is YouTube, because obviously it has the largest market share, and it's an actual behemoth when it comes to video content publishing, if you will. But one thing I noticed was when we took a look at roughly how much revenue we'd be able to make, given certain numbers, I think unless you're actually making videos, you're going to assume that it's going to be kind of big. You hear about these people making millions off of YouTube, but really the people that are making those amounts it's less than 0.1%. It's just like there's only like maybe a handful of them or so. Yeah. And as time goes on, YouTube has such a big stranglehold that they can kind of dictate things. You saw this with what's his name, Logan Paul. There's a big controversy about him having videos that was showing dead corpses in Japan, and YouTube, I think, put him on suspension. And with Alex Jones has 2 strikes. If he gets a 3rd strike within like 3 months, he gets kicked off of YouTube.
Oh, man.
And obviously that's a man that makes, both of those guys make what I assume is millions with YouTube. But when we were looking into actually publishing video, we realized there are solutions within blockchain technology, as imagine that, right? That's relevant to our podcast here. Obviously, one of them, Steam, although that's more written content, but on the same platform, you also have video, audio, and live video publishing platforms. For instance, there's DTube, there's DLive, there's also one for audio. And when I actually took a look at some of the people who are publishing content, whether it's video or even written articles on these publishing sites, they're actually making good amounts of money. Some of them are making thousands of dollars per episode, and obviously there aren't as many people on there. But I think this is one of the, I'm not going to call it a rare occurrence, but this is one of the earlier occurrences or instances where I'm seeing that blockchain technology can be disruptive not just to money, but to other industries, for instance, content production. So I was curious, I think I'll start off with Tay, because you have a little bit of familiarity with Steam. What has your experience been like? Do you think it's something that has the potential to really disrupt content production?
I do. It's not pretty. That's the part about
It's definitely
Steam.
not.
It's not pretty. It's not the easiest to figure out. It doesn't look like a 2018 website. Looks something more like 98.
Yeah, the front end is 98. The back end is 2018.
Right. Or beyond 2018.
Yeah.
But once they figure out the user interface and all that, and it can upgrade, it can get better. It's been getting better slowly. But once that happens, I feel like the people who wait until then are going to be late to the game when it comes to Steemit. Me, myself, I'm not really doing too much on Steemit, but I'm kind of familiar. I have an account. I've made a few posts.
Dipping your toe in.
Right. I kind of know what the whales look like on there. Starting to see what DTube and DLive and everything is going on with that. but still, it's very hard for me to use. We got a guy here, Rob. Hopefully, we can get him on sometime. But you know, I got to refer to people who use Steemit a lot to guide me through, like in person, actually, because when I look at it online and the apps that they have for it, eSteam is one app that is usable, but it's limiting in a lot of ways.
Usable? I like how you said it. Usable.
It's
right?
usable, but it's limiting in a lot of ways, and some things don't work as well as they should all the time. So I've seen other people, but there's a lot of good projects on there. Met a guy, he said he started I forgot the name of the project, but it's basically for musicians, open mic, that's what it's called, on Steemit. And it's for musicians, and they get on there. And when I say musicians, I mean if you know how to play a guitar or a drum in your house, you post on Steemit.
You'll be one of the best.
Well, it's not that you'll be one of the best, but it's just the fact that there's a community on Steemit for that. So
Right.
if you do not suck and you get out there and you post something, you playing a guitar, playing a song, whatever.
That's a big if. There's a lot of suck going around.
Well,
Like a lot of people are infected with suck.
all I'm saying is there's people who are not musicians, but they know how to play a guitar. They play it in their room,
Yeah,
and by the next day they have a few $100s.
Yep.
You feel me? So like that's a new paradigm
Exactly.
for, you know, musicians out there, small bands who are, you know, doing all this stuff to get a gig somewhere. And you can go online right now and post on Steemit or DTube or whatever and get paid probably better than you would, you know, struggling at a gig somewhere.
Or definitely on any traditional social media stuff.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
what we're all used to is social media, in which these companies set up platforms in which you contribute and you get none of the monetary benefits.
Yeah.
So someone like Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey from Twitter basically, and their shareholders basically suck in all the value that you or some other people may or may not create.
Right.
And you're going to see, a lot of this stuff might be 20, 15, 20, 30 years before it's time, right? So something, a joke that a lot of people make is about pets.com and the internet, right?
Right.
You always hear that example. It's almost like the tulip example, right? And pets.com gets made fun of, but their business model is basically selling shit online.
Right.
They're selling.
What is pets.com?
Pets.com is like a
Just a thing that
it's like
sells
a tulip. It's like one of those tulip claim. You know,
What he's saying is it's like the call to the bubble, right? Because during the .com bubble, pets.com had a crazy valuation, and then it just burst.
Yeah. It's like thrown out there as like an epithet. You know,
Right.
pets.com. It was like the height of .com euphoria, right? And those guys were actually ahead of their time. They were like, I think a couple of years ago there was another company that did exactly. They were selling pet stuff online.
Yeah.
And they had like a multi-billion-dollar valuation and sold, you know, did an IPO and stuff like that.
Right.
They came like basically 20 years after pets.com.
Right.
So a lot of these things, right, we might not see Steemit or any of the things that but the concept is there. We're going to have a peer-to-peer relationship between the person that posts and the people that like it. And they're going to be able to like it in a way that they can pay their content provider. Right, some type of musician or Tay puts up a post about cryptocurrency, people like it, and he can get directly paid. That just changes the whole relationship of so many
I have gotten paid.
different media. Yeah, you've already done. I know our CEO at Edge has posted on Steemit a couple, like probably a year or two back, and you know got maybe $100 worth of Steam bucks. Right. So it's not exactly clear if we're ready for that yet. Like a main, you know, like you said, it's not very usable.
Right.
There's a lot of different, you know, maybe they don't need a blockchain. Right, maybe I don't know.
But we're also assuming that all of our audience is beginners to crypto. I mean, there's some savvy people out there that are probably all over Steemit.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, there were what is it called? There's people involved with Pets.com made a lot of money, and it wasn't a scam. They were just like it was kind of their valuation was overblown. It wasn't necessarily sustainable at the time. There's a lot of things on the internet that needed to be kind of pieced together for that whole thing to work. So you might not be there yet, but we know it's going to happen, right? And people like us, Kylan, that's setting up a podcast, is looking for. I mean, you basically have an
looking to get in early. Too.
There's so many options out there, and that are not only out there now, but are developing.
Of course,
or you know, but it might take a few years. That's the only really comment. It will definitely take some time.
And this whole thing kind of bleeds into my whole belief on like the ICOs as well. because a lot of them are promising a lot of things, and it's good promises, but there's nothing there, my friend. You know what I mean? So like there's some companies out there or some coins out there that are actually doing things already, and that's another form of filtering, I guess, when you're looking at the crypto news, is figuring out who's just blowing smoke and who actually
has an application that's working.
Has an application that's working, or has a company behind them, or has like not just a celebrity or a big name,
a white paper,
right, or white paper, anything like that, but real substance.
Yeah, Steam
behind what
Steam is a real deal. They've been around for a while. I've poked around on there, and
they get the most transactions of any blockchain.
Yeah,
their scalability apparently is supposed to be really good.
Who knows? They might be just like people say. You know, maybe Bitcoin doesn't do it, but something else. You know. Right. But Steam, it's still going.
Yep,
they're going strong, and it's something that people like Kylan and others are looking into to make a buck.
And it's the second project of Dan Larimer. His first one was BitShares. That's still going strong.
Yeah.
This one, and I think, and then EOS is the next one.
Yeah.
But I'm the blockchain they use is a different type of technology. It's not blockchain. I guess it's a
for which
delegated proof of stake for EOS?
For all three of them.
Oh yeah, they're all not pure proof of work type Bitcoin, Litecoin type blockchains. Right? It's more of a loose definition of a blockchain.
Yeah, I know for EOS they're using delegated proof of stake so that they can get more bandwidth, or so that they can get more transactions per second. One thing I was going to say with stuff like Steam or DTube, these essentially what could end up being disruptive applications. I noticed when I was kind of comparing what the hypothetical payout could be for, let's say, a video that gets XYZ amount of views on each platform. And these are just rough calculations, kind of like estimates, but it honestly looked like even though you reach probably quite exponentially less people on something like Steam or DTube, the fact that they already have a currency there, obviously that makes it more likely that they will contribute value or money to you. But when I was looking at the payouts, it seems like because YouTube has that middleman, essentially you can get, I want to say, 10 times, 100 times, maybe even 1,000 times more per user on something like Steam or DTube than you would through YouTube. So YouTube, like you said, there are some usability issues with Steam and some of those, but honestly, they actually are relatively, what would I call it? Relatively young projects.
Of course, yeah.
So they are going to be working on usability, and maybe even at some point they move on to a different blockchain, or they'll have competitors. And I think I already see some of that starting to occur. But I do think that there is a big potential there for completely disrupting things and empowering people who are producing content, whether it's artistic or educational or what have you.
Yeah, it's anything that has a middleman. There are entrepreneurs out there looking to wipe you off the face of the earth, right? If you're coming in between someone who's providing value and someone that is accepting that value and wants to pay, people in the blockchain space are being entrepreneurial are trying to wipe you out. So if you're trying to collect rents on something that you set up, you might want to reconsider and maybe jump onto
shares.
You might want to jump on another project, right? Because they're coming for your lunch, because you're not offering much other than a platform on which creators and the people that value them come together. Right. So people are setting that up in a way that no one's taking a fee for that. It's just a direct peer-to-peer transaction.
Right. The other thing about Steam that I wanted to put out there too is you don't actually have to create content. I mean, content can be you taking a picture of some food you like or whatever and posting on Steam it. People have liked pictures like that and no comment whatsoever, and you end up getting, $1. Well, that was months ago. So as the value of Steam goes up, your dollar turns into $3 or $4. But then also you can comment and still earn money. Yep. So somebody could be posting something and you have a detailed comment, and other people like your comment.
The YouTube commenting trolls would love that.
And you can get,
That's the best part of YouTube.
I mean, that's a contribution too, right? Contributions come in different forms.
Exactly. So, and monetizing all those little value-added type activities.
If everybody we knew that was on Facebook was on Steam it, and they were our friends on Steam it, like there's no way you could be broke because everybody's working for each other. You know what I mean?
I'll also say, even if you're not not everyone is a content provider or should be, right?
Right.
Some of us are better at it than others. But if you look at these things as emerging social networks, and if you were in the early days of Facebook and Twitter, you remember or Reddit, or how amazing those things were, right? And the type of community that it attracted. So it's you're going to get a lot of, I'm not going to say weird, but it's just non-mainstream content on these platforms, right? So some of it's going to be garbage, right? Just like the early days of Twitter or Facebook or whatever. But there are going to be some cool cats, some characters that are, living in Panama, right? Divergent lifestyles that are posting really interesting stuff on there, maybe on evaluating crypto projects or something they're building, or some type of funny video that they came across and they posted, right? You're going to get a very different community than you'll get on the normie Facebook, Twitter, Reddit type community.
You motivate me, man. I'm gonna up my Steemit game this week. I'm gonna up it. My handle on Steemit, just so y'all know.
I haven't even been on there in like a year, honestly. Yeah. But
TAYNAV00 on Steemit.
Oh, shout out.
You know what I mean? And y'all if y'all ain't on there, y'all need to get on there. Y'all need to get on there. Let's all get paid. You know what I mean?
PowerPoint.
I'm cool that's clued together. So one thing, and Brett, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, is for some of the outcasts on some of these, what would you call them? Not even traditional, but already mainstream media sites, whether it's Twitter. Some people are getting in trouble for having hateful speech, stuff like that. These disruptive technologies could actually be an excellent outlet for them. It could give them a second life if they feel like they're getting pushed off of the mainstream outlets. Now, obviously, I don't know how everything works technically with some of these blockchains, but for the most part, they're pretty censorship free. I think if they had anything really bad, they could actually do some sort of consensus, right, to get rid of it, because there are some bad things that you really don't want. But in general, there seems to be an era of, okay, let's just hear what you have to say, express yourself. And they also, since it's a blockchain, a lot of times they make it so you can't delete your data either, which is I actually kind of like it.
It seems like when Twitter and Facebook and all the other ones were set up, they were set up kind of like that in that spirit. They set up the platforms like that, but ultimately they are an outgrowth of 20th century institutions like corporations and certain laws, and they've shown the ability to crack down because of various reasons. And it seems like a lot of these new platforms kind of have the First Amendment baked in at the protocol level.
Right.
Right? So people that are freaking out about the First Amendment and SJWs trying to police speech, I'm not really worried about that at all. First, I look at them, and they're not really a threat in any way, shape, or form. They just like to yell a lot. And people that value freedom of expression, value the principles of the First Amendment, are building technology to make a lot of those kind of, what do they call them, the control left, right, or people that are against speech that's offensive, right? All this stuff is being built, the First Amendment is basically being built into a lot of our tech platforms for media creation. So, like you said, a lot of these outcasts are getting either intellectual outcasts or even, just dangerous people in general have an outlet to vent whatever crack theory they have, which I think is healthy to get it out there in the open. And you could see where people are really coming from, right? So.
True.
I like to have that. And like you said, it's hard to delete things, right?
Yeah.
The blockchains are append only, or at least they're supposed to be. So a lot of these products I think the founding fathers of the United States would be like, hell yeah, build an uncensorable social network or, some type of communication tool. Make sure everyone can get out their crazy voice, no matter how hateful or...
Yeah, because sometimes the hateful, weird ones might actually be right.
They might be saying something, right? Socrates was put to death. Jesus Christ was put to death.
Well,
right?
it's just also, once you have something that can't be erased, then you can't have conglomerates get together and erase and rewrite
history, right? Which they've done over...
Something that benefits them and will continue to benefit them for the next couple of centuries,
right?
Unless people figure it out, you know?
Yeah, I feel like the Soviet system was, they did a good job of that.
Of censoring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They did some things right. They did some things not so right, but...
All right. Do you guys have any more stories, or should we close it down? I think we're good.
You think so?
Yeah, I think we're good.
I don't know. I think we should talk about Bill Gates and just tear him apart.
Yeah,
even more.
yeah. Well, we'll probably end up talking about Warren Buffett.
Hey, guys,
you know,
he still looks like a virgin. You can't listen to a guy like that, honestly.
Yeah, you definitely can. All right, so for those of you out there who actually want to check out stuff like Steam, DTube, I'm trying to remember what the other one was, but I think it's DLive. Go ahead and go on there and see if you can find Captain Crypto. Might be Captain Crypto HD. Just look for the logo. Also, for those of you on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, go ahead and share, like, review, do what you'd like. Give us a little bit of feedback. We're trying to find ways to improve the show as best we can. So if there's things you like, go ahead and tell us. If there are things you don't like, go ahead and tell us. Try to be gentle, but go ahead and let us know your thoughts. Also, for those of you who missed it, I actually released a more critical analysis of a project, EOS, that we were talking about earlier. That was released earlier this week. So it's part of a new format that I'm doing, that I'm adding, called Sink or Sail, where me and some other more skilled developers or people with technical expertise do analysis of projects in the space. So we did one of EOS. I would tell you what our conclusion was, but it's probably better if you go and actually check it out. It should be on YouTube, SoundCloud, all our normal publishing outlets, if you will. So I think until next time, guys, this is your crew wishing you fair winds and following seas. Set sail.